Coach, the third time that the club has clinched into the playoffs, tell us about your reactions on that and the game.
Well, first and foremost, absolutely delighted that over the course of a long, hard season, and I've made it clear on a couple of occasions that you truly are a reflection of your worth at the end of a season and your position in the league. And for the third season on the spin, in this club's very young history, we've been able to secure a playoff position again. For that, I'm so incredibly proud of the group, of the organisation. I'm sure the fans are too. There are a number of very, very good things going on in this organisation, and I think that should really give you an idea and typify what the organisation is all about. It's not easy in a league where parity runs throughout. 3 seasons on the spin to be in the playoffs. Having said that, very disappointing to finish off the way we have tonight at home. I think, look, it's been a weekend of interesting or strange results. Most of those have given us the opportunity, without winning tonight or earning a point, to be part of the playoffs. And I guess, again, that is part of the competition of this league. This group, this Houston group that have done the double over us, have spent a tremendous amount of time and money and effort in putting this group together, and you can see on nights like tonight there's some quality in their team. The penalty, I felt, was very, very soft, although I'd have to look at a clear, concise replay. But up until that point, I'm not even sure they had an effort at goal or an effort in general. And then a very poor mistake from Dave obviously gives them some breathing space, and it was a little too late.
We are going to open the floor for questions now. We'll kick it off with Dre here. Sorry.
Yeah, Gary, you talked about the penalty, of course, Dave Romney's goal, but offensively, outshoot them 21-9. Yet, I guess in the run of play, there really wasn't much going through the middle channel. I think it was over 32 crosses coming from out wide. What was missing with the attack today, and did you feel like individually the collective were at their best, sharp-wise?
No, I think the answer to that is no. I thought they did a very good job of stifling our star player and focal point. Credit to their back line and the 2 centre-backs. There was an emphasis placed on trying to be a little bit more aggressive out wide. They play, what can be classed as a 4-2-3-1 with guys in that central area of the field that do a very good screening job. And I thought there were some weaknesses that we could try and take advantage of out wide. However, I think for the most part, whether it was a cross that wasn't accurate enough, a choice that maybe came inside a bit too quickly and didn't release somebody in behind the back line in a wider area, we had plenty of efforts, plenty of opportunities, not all clear cut for sure. I think the best one in the first half was Randall's, that he tried to cut across too heavily, too much power. But it really didn't matter when you look around the group tonight. There was no lack of effort, endeavour, desire to try and get a result. Circumstances obviously contrived against us in many ways, but we certainly weren't clean enough by a long stretch in front of goal, and that in the end was a very, very important factor to keep them under pressure and to ask some questions.
Then right.
Yeah, Gary, we haven't really had to talk about what happens when Honey isn't scoring in a while, but it does feel like when he's quiet, the team is quiet. You've got production from other guys in spurts, but how concerning, or are you concerned about that heading into the playoffs? That if teams can shut him down, that the team is playing?
Yeah, I think there's two parts to that. The first one is a lot of teams have tried all year to do that, and he's been very, very good. The dynamic and the dimension of the group has changed over the last couple of months, and Jacob and Shaq have been the main, obviously, focal points of that. That added pace and width, I think, has given us an awful lot of product. And through those two guys, combined obviously with some of the other individuals we have, I think we've found a very, very nice balance, and we've caused some problems for a lot of teams. I think we've had 2 weeks to, we've had that international weekend again. The rhythm gets broken up. We had some terrific work last week. No lack of energy and focus to prepare for the game. I think the guys all felt that there was a terrific opportunity here without even knowing the results. I wonder, in some people's minds, walking in today, lots of press releases going out, we've clinched. It doesn't matter how much you tell people, listen, if you want a top 4 spot, you got to win tonight. Maybe that little bit of pressure, maybe that relaxed feel, that edge goes out of your game because you're in. And like I said, whilst there was no lack of effort, I don't think anyone's going to point a finger and say the guys didn't really, give their all. But we lack that edge, and we lack that sharpness, and we lack that, that connection in the final third that we have seen in the last 6-7 games. Even the Club America game, bright, purposeful goals. A very positive look about the team. The shots will tell you we got in good places. The shots on goal will tell you that we were nowhere near good enough when we got in those good places.
Gary, when you look at the game, besides the penalty, which is questionable, and Dave's error, it could have been very well a 0-0 goal, or maybe even winning by 1. Who knows? But my point is, what in the game you would be the one point that you say, hey guys, we did this good enough, but we didn't do that good enough. For instance, in my view, those many crosses back and over, that would be perhaps something that you say, well, we gotta do something about it. Right?
I'll bring you in on Tuesday and you can have a chat with the group, Claudio. Of course, look, when we're at our best, we're finding that channel of uncertainty behind the back line, where the weight of the pass from the serving player is into the stride of the wide player. He can move onto it and work it with some confidence and fluidity. And it just wasn't there. It was stop-start. Unfortunately, there just wasn't enough of a connection in any part of the field. Honestly, and I'm going to console myself with this. It's not something that I would have necessarily been wanting to be thinking, but sometimes. We've been on a decent run. We've had some terrific results against some very good teams. Maybe there's 1 or 2 guys, like I said, that felt as though they were in. They've had a good season, which they have. I said before that I thought making the playoffs this year would be one of our best achievements, if not the best achievement, and I still believe that. Unfortunately, we've missed a window of opportunity there. And that's going to be tough to recover. But sometimes that kick up the backside can be a bit of a, bit of an eye opener and a realisation of what's needed if you're going to actually progress in the playoffs. Because whilst there were some good things that went on in the middle part of the field, there were a couple of things that went on at either end of the field that are not going to be good enough to take us any further in the playoffs.
Gary, what can you say that you know about this team when faced with a specific situation in front of them? You have the playoffs coming up, which are that very specific situation. You win in advance or not. Tonight you had the chance to kind of own your destiny, and you came up short. What can you say about this team that you know that they can do in a situation like that?
Well, honestly, when I look at our group, and the difference obviously between a team that finishes in the top 4 and a team that finishes in the top 7, in most cases you're going to be a very fine line, but it's going to be those moments of turning the odd game from a draw into a victory, obviously being consistent. You don't get to that point unless you're consistent. And probably, you know, the difference in our group, finding 1 or 2 guys that can hit a bit of form in front of goal. And tonight, that's, you know, we're falling short maybe because of that. There are so many things that I'm so grateful for with a lot of players in our group. So many things. But there'll be some disappointments in that locker room that they've not been able to convert, given some half chances that on other occasions we'd like to have thought we might have just squeezed the goal out of it, put them under a little bit more pressure. So there'll be a few of the guys that are internally thinking to themselves, falling short there. And what we've always done, for the most part, when we've been in that position, is come out fighting. And we've shown some real character, some inner fibre that brings a result when we've needed it, or a run of results when we've needed it. Probably our flattest period of the year, 6 games without a win, and we go and win 4 games on the bounce. I think there's a lot of teams in this league and around the globe that will be more than happy with a flat spell that was just 2 defeats back to back without a win in 6. You know, disappointing at the time, but we can look back on this season and be, I think, very proud again of what we've achieved in some tremendously difficult circumstances. And look forward to a run, hopefully in the playoffs, wherever we finish, knowing that we've actually achieved an awful lot on the road this year as well. So I'm not sure that there'll be too many teams licking their lips if we're coming to them, although of course we'd love to try and achieve a home game if we possibly can. If we can't do that, we'll finish hard as we possibly can.
We have time for 2 more questions. Tim, go ahead, and then we'll close it out with Rick.
Gary, you kind of alluded to it there, but with today's result, not knowing whether you'll have a home playoff game, how does that change your mindset, either going into LA, or if you don't end up having a home game, is it a major disappointment for you in the playoffs, or is it something that you guys just kind of buckle down and say, hey, we've been great on the road this year?
I think we'll take it in our stride, come what may. But yes, it will be a disappointment, because I think there have been occasions this year that we'll look back on and feel as though we should really have taken a little bit more from that game in particular. And there've been 3 or 4 of those games here that I think, given the standards that we have been able to set and the way that the group's capable of playing, and it always sounds like I'm asking for a little bit more, but I do genuinely believe there was more to be had if we don't make the top 4 than maybe we achieve. We'll get over that. We'll dust ourselves off, and we'll be ready, whatever we've got to do against whoever we've got to play against. There's no doubt about that. I don't look at any team in this league and think to myself, okay, I genuinely do not want to be playing them. This is going to be a bridge too far. I think we've shown that against most teams. We're capable. On any given day, we're capable of beating anyone away from home. I think we have the credentials and quality to do that, if need be.
Drake, go ahead.
Yeah, just to follow up on Ben's question regarding support for Hani as far as goal production, but wanted to hone in on the center forward position. Obviously, Sapong, CJ has been consistent for you since he's been here as your starter. Have you seen any cons or pros, I should say, in allowing Teal to get another run? Obviously, he's battled health throughout the year, but obviously in the summer he put on that 4-game stretch. So do you feel like it's too late given what you guys are trying to get, especially with a home field advantage, or do you think that could be an opportunity?
Oh, I certainly don't think it's too late. You know, he's coming back from an injury. I genuinely, I truly don't think as individuals, their qualities go along very similar lines. I think what I'm looking for, especially with Teal coming back from some time out, you know, is he looking sharp enough? Does he look like he's going to make a difference? Is he able to, you know, to really deal with the rigours of the start of a game, rather than making an impact coming into the game? Because, you know, he's only started a long while as being Club America. But he did go on a terrific run, and unfortunately, you know, we would have all seen it before. Forwards get in a groove, they're confident. Things look like they're coming easy for them. You know, goals that they shouldn't even be scoring, they do, because they're in such a good place mentally. Everything flows. But sadly, he had some time out, and he's trying to find his feet again as well. But I have no problem in, you know, utilising Teal to the best of the ability for the team. None whatsoever. I think he's been terrific for us. He's an incredibly genuine guy, very, very capable. So I want to keep CJ and anyone else under pressure. The mindset, just so that you know, is that the connection between CJ and Hani has been terrific. And if it's not been CJ scoring, there's normally something within the game that I can look at and say, you know what, that's benefited Hani so much. And he's been such an important piece, of course. So anything I can do to support what and how Hani's going about his work, I want to. But there comes a point where, you know, there might be a need to try and find another angle for a goal. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's not worth overlooking, obviously. An incredibly positive stat that any team coming into the league would be very proud about, and certainly we are. Obviously, the actual clinching moment was not on the field with us, and so the taste of it is a little bit sour by what we were in control of tonight and the ramifications for our standing moving forward. But, you know, I'm sure a lot of people can recognize the difficulty in coming into the league and being 3 years into it and 3 years of qualifying for playoffs. I think that's spectacular. I think it doesn't come as much of a surprise to the guys that are here every day, and internally we know that's the bar we set at bare minimum, and so we're very happy for that. But you know, we're constantly looking to take the next step, and I think this year is a great opportunity to do that in what's been a very unique challenge to us, logistically especially. Getting off to the start of the year that we had in the Western Conference, all of that stuff. Certainly an adjustment, but soccer is soccer. The league is what it is, and there's parity on both sides of the league. So it's been nice to see it from this new perspective, if you will. But the goal always remained the same, and we're happy to accomplish it on just the basis of making playoffs again.
Thank you, Dan. We're going to open the floor for questions now. Drake, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Dan, you talked about obviously wanting to be in control of your guys' own destiny tonight, given Houston, what happened at Houston. Obviously want to get a home result. With Houston being a part of that bottom three, Kansas City and San Jose, you guys haven't been the most successful. I think 5 out of 15 points. When you go into, obviously, the last game of the season, how do you feel about the opportunity that you guys might have lost and slipped through your hands, and being able to control what you guys want, which is a home field advantage?
Sure. Feels pretty bad, obviously. I think that goes without saying. No one wants to lose in general, let alone to a team that hasn't seen a lot of success this year. And to your point, our record against teams in the lower echelon, if you will, of this conference is disappointing, definitely. But as you said, I think we can look at what we're in control of and how we go about controlling it internally. And I think we can take a hard look in the mirror and see how we can improve on that. But certainly this is the time of the year where those details and improving from game to game is all the more important, but that's more or less a process that we go through throughout the year. And every game, no matter what it is, win, lose, or draw, we have to take things to get better and improve upon and try to highlight our strengths. So it's nothing new process-wise. Certainly we understand the gravity of the situation and what that means for us moving forward. This one stings a lot. But it just shows what this league's all about. I mean, like you look at a team like Seattle earlier today that wasn't able to win, and their playoff hopes are now done, I believe. But if things go differently, they squeak in after a really abysmal year on their standards, and they're going to be a contender right away in playoffs. That's just the way the league works. So certainly we understand, more importantly to your point, what it means to be in control of our own destiny, how we drop the ball tonight, what there is left to play for, certainly, but more than anything, we know what playoffs represent in this league, and we know that there's a lot to play for and a lot to be positive about.
Ben, right?
Yeah, Dan, I think it was yesterday, Jim Curtin talked about just the difficulties of ending a professional team's season. And do you think there's an element where fans or even us in the media kind of overlook you guys being towards the top of the table, Houston coming in at the bottom of the table, and just the difficulty of playing against a team of guys who are fighting for contracts and kind of futures in the league? How difficult is that for you guys?
I disagree with that. I don't think it's that difficult. I think it's a privilege. That's why you work so hard throughout the year, so that you can be in the position of ending teams' years. It's ruthless. That's the way it goes. And for the guys that are playing for contracts on teams that have the, I don't want to call it a silver lining or a luxury to not really go after a game and play your starters, and you're trying to get guys minutes so you can look forward to next year. But I've been on many teams that haven't qualified for playoffs, and I know what that's like. I've played in those games. It's a completely different animal, but there's positives to take out of it as well. And I think, without knowing any of the contract situation, the guys we played against tonight, that was a team that wanted to win the game, and they went about it. 2 good moments, and they were able to win the game. But to Curtin's point and what that means throughout the league, I think it's a very nice way for him to frame it for a team that's been relatively dominant this year, if I'm being honest. I don't know if he actually means that, but credit to him, he said it, and give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, Dan, you guys started at home this season a little iffy, and then you became borderline dominant. How disappointing is it for the regular season, at least, to end with kind of a home disappointment? And then how do you guys kind of get back that magic that you guys found if you do get lucky enough to have a home playoff game?
Sure. It sucks, obviously, but I think, to your point, it feels like magic, but the way we go about our business, I think we remove the magic and the guesswork and the not being able to put our finger on what it is that makes us so special at home. And I think this year certainly represented a new challenge for us in figuring out what that looks like, what that feels like in a new stadium that's finally ours, and with a new group. Even though we've had a lot of continuity, we've added several important pieces that have changed the way the team does things on both sides of the ball. So I think more than anything, it's focusing on our journey throughout this year, starting lower, gaining some momentum, and now having a little bit of a setback. I think it's just focusing on the things that we can control and what we want to be about when we play at home. Tonight, quite frankly, I think a lot of those things were there. I don't think we were good in either box. I just think that's the way it is, and unfortunately that's been the case a few times this year, and it's really hurt us. So, a few points here and there, obviously everyone matters, but we drop points throughout the year in important home games that really would have made this game maybe not as important as it became tonight, but that's the way of the world. But more than anything, I think it's important that we focus on moving forward, the things that do make this place magical to play at, we embody that every time we step on the field, whether in Geodis Park or away. I think we're capable of doing that. I think the group is mentally strong enough to do that. I think there's enough talent, enough quality, enough passion on the field and in this team to do that on a consistent basis, not just at home.
Love it.
Dan, you just mentioned some of it, but looking at the scores this weekend in the league, I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff have going on, unexpectedly, including tonight's game, to be honest. Well, I mean, when you look at the work you've done away throughout the season, in many possibilities that you actually created in places where maybe people thought, well, Nashville hardly has a shot there. What is that shot coming up for next weekend?
Yeah, I think you touched on the fact that it's in this group's DNA to enjoy playing in difficult places against good teams. I think if you look at our home record last year, some of our best wins, I think the majority of our wins came against teams that were higher in the table in their respective conference. Philadelphia, Austin, just to name a few I remember. But I think more than anything, this group is very resilient. We know how to be difficult to play against, and we have talented players that in the opponent's final third can make life very difficult, and we can score goals at any time, as everyone knows. So that all is a pretty effective recipe for going on the road. Granted, we do take care in noticing what we have to do, what each game represents as far as opponent, and we know that for this weekend going into a game against LAFC that just clinched the Supporter Shield, regardless of how they approach this last game of the year, to your point, a lot of crazy things happen at this point in the season, and I don't think they are looking at this game and thinking it's going to be easy by any means. So knowing now what we want to accomplish going into the playoffs and the type of performance we know we want to go into the playoffs coming off of, I think it's a really good spot for us. Again, we're respectful of how good this team is that we're playing, how difficult it is to play in a place like that, but I don't think this group flinches at those opportunities. We haven't all year. I don't see why we should start now in such an important game, but it's a great challenge. We're looking forward to it.
Steve, take us home.
Dan, are you a better road team? Do you think this team is better on the road than they are at home?
I would have to look at our stats, obviously. I'm assuming you have, and that's why you've asked, but I'll give you the benefit of that there. Certainly, and obviously, I can't really speak to that because at the end of the day, in a year that has played out the way it has, being able to look at a group of 8 games that you start on the road, I think it becomes a different conceptualization of what the road away games sort of mean to the team and as the schedule hashes out versus a regular schedule where the cadence is a little bit more natural. At the end of the day, I do think, like I said, it's in our DNA to be resilient in difficult places to play when the odds aren't necessarily in our favor. And I think that's represented a challenge for us, honestly. I think when it comes to playing at home, I think it's important that we understand what playing at home represents. It seemed like we couldn't get a hold of that or quite put our finger on it earlier in the year, and that we finally snapped our fingers and it was there. I think the important thing is to understand that we control what those performances look like at home, just as we do on the road, and the road is very simple. In MLS, everyone expects you to lose your away games. We don't expect to lose any game, so I think that sort of fits with our MO. When it comes to being at home, expressing ourselves, obviously, again, it took us a little bit to get off the mark and to be firing on all cylinders, but it's a night like tonight is a brutal but important reminder that we don't take that stuff for granted. We have to make it happen. It doesn't just happen on its own because we're playing at home. And I think maybe a difficult game away from home will sort of remind us that. And I think that's a beautiful opportunity at the end of this year.